a lot of the focus of the Ministry of Labour and the institutions around the Ministry of Labour focus on engaging those who are already employed. So they deal with worker and employer relations. They deal with issues of benefits to the workers. A lot of the issues with the organizations of the trade unions. But there is no one-stop place that the issue of job centers and creating employment for young people is actually centered on. There's supposed to be a national employment bureau stationed at the Ministry of Labour. It has been there for more than 20 years. We have not seen the work it's done. Because once you put, once you try to deal with such an important issue under a department, you limit even the possibility of getting funding externally to this. Already, just based on the discussions around this bill, I have received a lot of calls of people who want to fund it, to fund the authority in Kenya, because of what they've seen it doing around the world. And many of these are international players, and they could only be allowed to do it directly when you have such an institution. As it is now, each and every county headquarter has access to such facilities across the country. We cannot keep hiding away from technology. We are living in the information age, in a global economy powered by information, driven by technology. And so we must think in that way. This legislation is for posterity. It's not just for today. It's for 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Additionally, for those who want to use the services, and that is the job seekers, they go to the job center and give the information. They can keep checking. I think there's an opportunity to now scale up once they have registered to whether they can keep checking through the mobile, through SMS, through USSD, whichever other platforms that are available. That opportunity exists, and of course with the vibrant tech community in this country, a lot of applications can be created that can assist and feed into that national database. In my thinking, and of course for me, is to provide the idea that there should be that public registry, that there should be certain levels of information created, but the authority will then be able to say, look, this kind of information is private information, it should not be there. I have asked for certain things, for example, the age, the ethnicity, the disability status, primarily for us to be able to make sure that there's an equitable distribution of these jobs. But once you go to the public interface, or what even employers can be able to see, we would like to block out certain aspects, for example, the name and ethnicity. Because once you do that, then you give everybody an equal opportunity. We've had a history in this country where people are employed because of who they know, people are employed because of their tribe, people are employed because of there's a lot of nepotism. So on the public interface, such information should actually be concealed, should be hidden. What the bill provides for, and the thinking behind, the spirit behind the bill, is that at minimum, at the bare minimum, each and every county should have a job center. Now from the county level, we expect that with partnership with the county governments, they can actually take it to the constituency level. Because you have counties like, I'll give an example of Marsabit County. Marsabit County is a huge county. The headquarters is Moyale. But you have a constituency in Marsabit, North Horr constituency, that is 38,860 something square kilometers. That is the size of Nyanza province, Western province, Central province, and 4 Nairobis. So even if there's one center in that constituency, it is still too far from those young people to be able to access it. I think to a great extent, the fact that whatever information you give there will be public, then there's some bit of transparency. We have put it very clearly that there is no fee to be charged to those seeking employment, and of course beyond that, there's a report that should be given annually by the agency to the cabinet secretary. Of course, we've had certain discussions, and I'd like to amend that to make it quarterly reports, and not just to the cabinet secretary, but through parliament. So at the Parliamentary Committee on Labour, or the Committee on Equal Opportunities can be able to look at whatever complaints may be coming, and especially to do with corruption. Because somebody might come and say, I'll give you this money to put my name up on the list. So we want to automate as much as possible, whether the names will be alphabetical, in alphabetical order, etc., so that there can be no, what do you call it, canvassing of those already in the database. The first step, or rather, the first interface through which you identify the training needs is when the young person walks through the door of that job center. You can be able to look at his confidence, you can be able to look at the CV they have written, if they have any, and see this person maybe needs training on how to write a CV. Based on interaction with them, maybe they need training on interview skills, how to go for an interview, how to present themselves, how to dress themselves, which careers they should be focusing, because you might see that based on their qualifications, they actually would do better in a certain different field. So that's the kind of training that I'm talking about. Of course, another aspect in the bill, if you look at the board, there's a representative from the Commission of Higher Education, is that based on this information, then we can do an appropriate skills to market needs assessment and matching. Because you might realize that 60% of those looking for jobs have a similar kind of training. Then it will beg the question, why are we still teaching these courses if the market does not require those skills? The authority will work with private sector, with the industry, with manufacturers, with the private sector alliance to establish what are the needs in the market. And also, and that then should reflect in the kind of courses that we'll be able to see in our universities moving forward. Actually, thank you. I thought you would have started with that question. There's been a lot of miscommunication around that issue. One, there are certain people who are saying that the bill seeks to bar and to restrict government jobs from those above 35. That would be totally absurd and unconstitutional. We want to allow anybody above 18 to be able to access it. In fact, one of the versions of the bill, before it was published, had that explicitly written, and we will amend to make sure that that is reflected. Of course, you must also realize that Article 55 of the Constitution talks about the state taking action, including affirmative action, to increase the employment of the youth. Because if you look at the jobs landscape in this country, it's young people who have been discriminated against by people asking for too much experience, people just basically not wanting to hire young people, and even from specific institutions in this country. So this National Youth Employment Authority is open to all Kenyans, but we want to retain the name National Youth Employment Authority to be able to show the emphasis of that authority, that its emphasis is actually on our huge group on numbers of young people who are not employed. You see, going forward, and of course it will find its own level, like water in a glass. We have said that the bill applies also to the informal sector. In this country, we have more than 10 million people. Last I checked, it was 10.3 million Kenyans are in the informal sector. These are people whose information is not available. These are people who are not in the mainstream economy in terms of banking. Many of them don't have accounts. They're on M-Shwari or M-Pesa, etc. But once you involve them and also take the information, this job center can also be able to provide, jobs like plumbing. If somebody needs a plumber, they can be able to just check on it and be able to get access from wherever they're in this country. If somebody needs a cobbler, a mason, if somebody needs all of these skills, those people are allowed to come and say, I have studied this, I'm a mechanic, I'm good at it, and I'm looking for a job. So whether it is a part-time job, whether it is a one-off job, whether it is a full-time job, the authority should be dynamic enough to the authority should be dynamic enough to be able to provide for that. I think my last word is that this bill is a step towards addressing the huge problem of unemployment in our country. I'd like to debunk the miscommunication also that has been there, that the bill seeks to restrict anybody from getting a job. It does not. The bill is open to anybody, whether they're 100 years old or 35 years old or 18 years old, provided they're above 18. And that is the form in which it is going to pass in Parliament. Of course, the emphasis we're making is on our young people. we must make sure that we give our young people opportunities. We've done a lot to make sure that they can get business opportunities, and it is ongoing. It is not perfect. There is no legislation that is going to be perfect or foolproof. Of course, there will be loopholes here and there, but we must either choose either to one, give up and say nothing can be done for these young people. Let us just leave them to the vagaries of how our economy does, or we can believe and try and do something. I choose to believe. I choose to try and do something myself as a legislator.